compared to last week, it's like going from the cheap Chinese takeout joint beside the Food Lion to the Brazilian steakhouse in terms of the bevy of material we have to talk about UFC-wise, MMA-wise.
One FC.
One FC. Yeah, what a show. What a show we've got for you guys. So, Trevor, we were talking about this past weekend right before the show, and we said we'd save some of it for the show, so let's get it out of the way early. I competed in jiu-jitsu again in a real tournament for the first time in like 4 years. It was a good experience, but I'm more proud of Josh because I told you what was going to happen. I said that Josh is just going to run through, he's going to laser through whoever's in his bracket because he's way better than a white belt.
Yes.
And he did. And his match was like 2 minutes. He immediately single-legged the guy. Like, it was in like 10 seconds of the match starting. He already had strong collar tie and pulled it into a single leg. And then he was like in mount on the guy, and the guy hit an amazing hip bump sweep. Nice. Like a really, really nice hip bump sweep. And while he was hitting it, Josh wrapped the neck on the guillotine. On a move on a sequence we had just worked like previously. Nice. And it was awesome.
How cool does that feel?
Like, it felt great.
When you're like, oh shit, we did a thing. Like, he did a thing.
I told Cody the same thing. I told Cody the same thing when he fought Julian. Yeah. Because the one of the sequences that Josh hit in that match was a sequence that I had previously taught him as well. And he also did it when I told him to do it. Yeah. And I was telling Cody, I was like, damn, that's a really sick coaching feeling that I wanted to share with you.
The coolest
and he's like,
thing in
dude,
the world.
He was like, imagine it when it's like an MMA fight and the stakes are super high, it amplifies it,
I tell people because I got to experience like cornering at a very early age, I went, this is cool. Like, I know I'm not good at that, but I like helping give the advice like in between. Like I understood it more. Like what they were doing in there and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, hey, thanks for the advice.
You have like a bird's eye view. I mean, that's the whole point of being there as a coach. You have like a bird's eye view on things.
Yeah, being a nerd of it, but being committed to like training and still competing to like figure out the game of it. You start going like, oh shit, like this is a lot of fun. Yeah. Is it stressful? Is it scary? Is it tense? Is it nerve wracking? Can you lose sleep over it? Yeah, but like when it all works right, it's like, oh, coolest thing in the world. Yeah,
it was a small tournament, and I think there was like 4 schools there total. Like, besides hometown. So it was like Walters, Moreno, Iron Grip. Oh. And there was one more that's escaping me right now. But those were like the only gyms. Jacksonville Point Grappling Club. That's who was kind of putting it on. And Combat Club, they seemed like all their guys were working the event. I didn't really see a lot of them on the mat competing. It seemed like a lot of their black belts and stuff were reffing and officiating the event. Oh, and the reffing and officiating was not good, so I'm not going to talk too much about that decision. I'll just say that I went through a roller coaster because I got there and I was supposed to compete before Josh. And they come up to me and they were like, your guy dropped out of your division. He wants to focus on the gi. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I get that because I want to focus on no gi. It's the whole reason I didn't enter the fucking gi in the first place. Right. So I get it. And so I'm like, okay, I'm only going to have a match in the absolute. Yeah. And then Josh is about to compete and they call me for my absolute match. It's a guy who's like 155 or 165 at the most. He's like super small. And I'm like, oh shit, it's like this level of an absolute match, And I know immedely that everybody is going to be watching.
Everyone always watches big guy, little guy.
And I did know this guy because he had like 16 matches on Smooth Comp. Yeah. And he has 13 wins by sub, so I know he's legit.
What's Smooth Comp?
It's like the most prominent jiu-jitsu software for tournaments.
Is it kind of like that boxer rec thing? Or
it's more like Smash Top GG than anything, which is, you wouldn't have any idea what that is.
You just spoke a foreign language. I feel 35 now.
But what it is you log into Smooth Comp, and they have a calendar of all these events. And you can just see every single jiu-jitsu event that's going on, basically. And then you just click on it, and it pops up, and it says, would you like to register for this event? I mean, it's like a social media network for events specifically, and then you run brackets through there. It's a bracketing software as well, and it keeps a record of your competition wins and how you won. So it's being more useful. It's becoming more and more useful, and it's called Smooth Comp and not Smooth Jiu-Jitsu or whatever because it's for you can use that same software for a lot of different types of events and tournaments.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I looked at his Smooth Comp record previously.
My Muay Thai homies and be like, hey, we need to organize, like, us coaches need this shit organized and, like, to help, like, stay on top of it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's the biggest problem with, like, as a commentator or an analyst, like, trying to study before a Muay Thai fight card or a kickboxing fight card is, like, you have to go off of Google results or social media posts on the fighter's page, and you have to kind of figure their record out almost because not everything's included. Yeah. And some people have, like, even inflated records where you're like, are they editing this themselves? And like, all this other shit.
We're still usually around so many fights, like, we'll at least know, like, what gym they're from, like, what area.
Yeah.
Like, we're very good at playing, like 5...
it's easy to do that for Anatool.
5 separations of, like, Kevin Bacon. Yeah, like, we'll do that with, like, MMA and fighting around.
It's easy to do that for Anatool or someone like that.
Yeah.
It's not quite as easy to do for someone who's, like, 3-1 in kickboxing and, like, 4-0 in boxing and, you know, has these multi-sport records.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw this match history on Smooth Comp. I didn't know he was so small, but I knew he was legit. And, the match starts, and of course everybody just turns immediately, and all other matches stop at the tournament. It's my first match in 4.5 years, and it's against a guy that is so small, and everybody's watching. And I had a cold on Monday, so it's like all these things are like affecting my mind as we start. And as soon as he like comes and touches me, I just sit down. Like I'm just like, I should just wrestle this guy, even though I'm not a good wrestler. But I did not come to wrestle today. I had a cold a week ago, so I'm gonna fucking just sit down. So I sit down, and people immediately start giggling. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. You know, it's a big guy sitting down, and he front flip past me. He tried to front flip pass immediately. Just front flip
to grab him. Look at.
I did, yeah. So that's how I went double unders, and then I tried to roll him to the mat, and he rolled the turtle, and it was like he rolled the turtle. And he, like, teleported onto my back. Like Goku in Dragon... Like, when Goku touches his temple and just vanishes and appears somewhere else. It was an instant transmission onto my back, yeah. I roll with this guy, Nick Johnson, all the time at Elevate, who is, like, a very high-level scrambler. And it felt very similar to him, except the guy was smaller. So he got there quicker. And so immediately I'm giving up points. And I'm like, okay, here we go. And I don't know who's coaching him. I've never seen him before, but he's like across my like nose right here and my eyeball, and his coach is like, "You're under the chin, rip it." And I can feel him like kind of think about it, and then he's like, "Nah, I'm good." Yeah, he keeps trying to get the neck, and that's when I did the 2-on-1 escape and took Kimura on him. Almost finished the Kimura. Then I had him in a guillotine. He passes over the guillotine. He bypasses Von Flue. I'm just giving up points all over the board, but I'm attacking him the whole time. And then with like a minute left in the match, I get a nice ankle lock, but it's on my weak side. And I was telling Cody, I was like, bro, if I had looked at the rule set before this event, I would have gone to Naga instead, because all you could do is ankle lock all the way up to fucking brown belt. Like, you couldn't knee bar, you couldn't calf slice. I have a really strong outside heel hook. I had a nice entry on him, and because he was so short, it was like I locked his legs, and my entire legs were still left over to, like, sweep him. Like, I could still just turn my heels and be wrapped around his upper body, too, basically, right? So, I pinned... every time I got him on the ground, I forgot this about tournaments, but, like, when you go against little guys, it's so different than going against little guys in the gym. Because little guys in the gym will just kind of concede that they're little sometimes.
Yeah, they're just like, fuck.
But dude, when you're in a tournament...
They go.
He's fighting like his fucking life is on the line. He's fighting like we're in a knife drill, and I've got the knife. Yeah. You know, like, every second I was touching him, he was doing something. He kneed me in the face twice trying to shrimp, and each time he was like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, just keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
You have to do this, right? And the match ends, and he beats me on points, and I'm waiting for him to get his hand raised. I'm just sitting there. I turn and I notice he's like still on the mat, and his hands are like shaking. And I'm like, oh right, I'm not even breathing hard.
Yeah, and he's just like, he's going a million miles an hour.
He was really going. You know, I forgot that about tournaments. I forgot that feeling. And then he was like, I think I need to throw up. And he walks off the mat and just disappears. I don't see him until we get to the podium again. And then we're on the podium, and he, like, gives me a kiss on the cheek. And I'm like, this guy's fucking crazy.
All right, let's get him on a podcast.
He's like a crazy jiu-jitsu guy.
Get a hold of him.
Yeah, and when we talk about Sean Strickland being from New Bern, he was, like, one of those guys who you're talking about when you say, like, guys from New Bern.
You were like, dude, no hard R's. Like,
I'm like, you should definitely go hang out with Matt Messer and those guys. Because he was from the Jacksonville club. But then my second match, after that, we were packing our stuff to leave. It was like 11:30. We were getting ready to leave. And they come over, or it was like 10:30. And they come over and they were like, your guy wants back in to Nogi if you want to have the match. And I was like,
shit.
I had already been declared the winner.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They declared me the winner, but they hadn't given my medal yet. And so I was like, okay. So I had already kind of adrenaline dumped a little bit because I thought I was done. And then as soon as the match started, I was like, fuck it, I'm going like 1,000%. Like that little guy, like inspired me to just fucking rip it.
You're like, oh, I gotta fucking go. Yeah.
Yeah, and I give my back immediately, but I do that all the time anyway. And then you saw on Instagram how the rest happened. Like it was like a minute. It was like a minute.
Great. It was a great transition of like where he was on your back. You went to 2-on-1, you gift wrap, and then you escape. And it's like one of those things of like I taught like that's one of the first things I taught Talia.
Yeah.
And like I would always run it over with like MMA fighters. Like they're always just like they're just trying to always pull away instead of going, man, fuck it, yeah, try to choke me with one arm. We'll make it really. It's really hard to do without a gi on.
Yeah.
So when you go for like that basic defense, it gives you a lot of positions like to go ahead and turn back into their guard.
If you look at the submission data for both MMA and Jiu-Jitsu, the rear naked choke is the most common and most popular submission by like over 2/3. Like it's I think in Jiu-Jitsu the past year for IBJJF ADCC, all this data that had been compiled by this person on Instagram, the guillotine was the second most popular, and then in MMA it was the armbar.
Yeah.
So I would think that like those are like getting those would have to happen at 3x the rate to even catch up to RNC. Yeah. So in my opinion, back defense is like one of the most important things in grappling. You can teach as a concept because when you get rocked in a fight, they take your back. They don't go to like most people don't go to mount anymore.
Yeah.
And if they do go to mount, what happens? You immediately turn your back because that's how you protect yourself.
Or if you're in mount, like you're just covering, and that's when they snatch up arm bars.
Yeah.
Like that's when like the arm bar becomes a high submission.
But when you go with guys like Cody, when you go with guys like Robert Ellison, you actually get their back. Good luck fucking choking them. It's like impossible to get. You can, like Gordon even. Gordon can stay on people's back for a long time and have trouble finishing them in his matches.
Yeah.
That's why some of his matches have gone to time recently. But yeah, I mean, it's fucking tough to finish good people on their back unless they've been rocked.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's such a fundamental position that you can drill in several different kind of scenarios.
Yeah,
especially with MMA, especially with striking, and it really helps you. I tell people it's really good to know that you can go to the ground in a fight. Like not only if you know jiu-jitsu, but know how to defend jiu-jitsu. Because like look, if you still know how to stay tight when you're hurt, that person still has to hunt for that rear naked choke. And then you're focusing on a rear naked choke, and like, you know, hopefully they're not hitting you in the back of the fucking head, they're not hitting you in the ears and making it worse for you, but it creates that point to like come back into that fight. Because 2-on-1 defense, it's very easy to do if you do it all the time.
Yeah.
And it makes that worst case scenario now a reversal point.
Especially with a glove on.
I tell people, like, if you want to see the number one momentum shift in an MMA fight, is the guy winning via strikes, getting the back, hunting the rear naked choke, and then not knowing how to like transition over. Like when Wendy hit that armbar, like right, like so that's why I was like, damn, dude, that's where you get like Charles Oliveira does that a lot. Like
I mean, you're seeing like that was one of the reasons why I was so impressed with her doing that is because that's something you don't start seeing people do reliably until like the brown belt, black belt level as far as like baiting these escapes that are technically sound and capitalizing on how technically sound they are.
Like, and you look
for her to be executing that in an MMA fight was like,
and you look at that, and you especially in amateur MMA, like that's where a lot of guys have those first couple of adrenaline dumps, like the 2-0, 3-0 guys. Dude. They lose because they get themselves in that place. They hunt, then it's defended, and they're like, fuck, I'm on my back. And you see guys like just freeze, and then people are like, what happened? It's like, oh shit, I got too caught up in that moment. Instead of like taking my time, like, because it's not only easy to defend it's still easy to work back through, to windshield wiper across, and still trade off forearms. Like, it's not like some people, it just make it harder than what it is. Yeah. And like, but it's like, hey, if you go there a lot, that bad place gets easier. Is like what I tell people. Yeah, like it makes it easier. Yeah,
I think when you do grappling,
it's like striking defense. Like I teach so much more defense. I'm just like, y'all know, like if you've never been hit in the face, the first time you get hit in the face, it's like, what the fuck? Even tech sparring, it's like, what the fuck? Yeah. But like, and you see it, like you're seeing all these newbies get into like striking from their first go, but they're all like, shit, let me just be defensive. Well, that's and they're not having to find volume, but they're all getting behind like, shit, let me just kind of be okay dealing with this.
That's why most of the stuff I drill with Josh compared to other people is all bottom base, because he's already got decent top position, but when you're new to grappling and you're facing people that are used to facing wrestlers, you're going to end up on bottom a lot. Yeah. So you have to like be ready to be there. And I think when I got into jiu-jitsu, like many people, I was ending up on the bottom a lot, so I got pretty good at defending myself in side control. I got pretty good at defending myself when my back was taken, you know, like because those are positions you find yourself in a lot. And I think a lot of people go into those first amateur fights, sometimes when they have more of a striking-based background, they don't have enough dedicated hard grappling time to have been put there by brown belts and black belts. Most of the people they've been going with are more at their level and unable to really keep them there for prolonged periods of time. But like, you know, Talia is really good about when she's controlling someone and like staying weight shifted over the right positions to move and strike while still being able to keep your weight over them so they don't just stand up. And I think most people don't have that skill, and they don't have the skill to be able to, like you said, move and defend from their back. Yeah. Without panicking.
It's a lot going on, man. Yeah, and I just tell people, and this is like also cool to talk to with you, because like you've started coaching, you've got a growing program at Hometown, like you've now got guys competing. You've now got yourself back into competition, and now you're seeing like, oh man, this is where all those little things start taking place.
They matter a lot.
They matter a lot.
Yeah,
and
like a lot.
You start seeing why some programs will do like certain things over, like they have that same fundamental base that you can work every day and just always spider web off of. And it's like, what have you noticed with that, of like with your time in and stuff like that? How has that shifted to like look at martial arts? Because I know it's always been like a big, like I've been in coaching for a long time, so I've always been like outside in kind of guy.
Yeah, I think that like
from like way back
when I first got like back into jiu-jitsu after being gone for so long, one of the pieces of advice that I heard from Gordon in a BJJ Fanatics video was like, if I could go back and retrain myself from white belt, I would focus on these things. And he was mostly talking about submission defense and pin escape. And since that has happened, I've been focusing a lot on that, because when I was a white belt, my focus was purely on survival. Like it was on lasting until the end of the round, or trying to minimize the number of times that I got tapped. And then I started to develop a decent sweeping game, and I ended up on top more often and started to learn how to hold the top position. But then when I got my blue belt, I became like more fascinated and more drawn to finishing details on attacks, because I could like roll with people really well, but I didn't have a lot of good finishes, and more importantly, I didn't have a move that I was known for. And I feel like if you roll for as long as I've been rolling, most people are like, oh, that's blank. He'll come and he'll, like Kevin. That's Kevin. He can fucking knee bar you or wrist lock you from anywhere. That's Cody. He can guillotine you from anywhere. Sean's got a really good Kimura trap game, Americana game, and a bunch of other really, really great with the leg shit. Patty Hennessy, known for straight ankle locks, etc. And I especially feel like at Elevate, where it's more like it's not a rigid program. It's more like, you know, you kind of do the same thing where you let people find their style. Yeah. Cody is very much that same way, where he's like, if you find something that you gravitate towards naturally, mentally, you should chase it. And that's how he ended up with Patty, who's one of the best ankle lock specialists on the entire, like, this spectrum of training in North Carolina. Yeah. And is only a purple belt. You know, and there's plenty of people like that at Elevate. And I didn't feel that way yet. So when I got to blue belt, I started like prioritizing attacks. And I developed a few good attacks, and I have some moves that I'm known for now, so I achieved my goal in that way. But I didn't feel like my jiu-jitsu was getting much better. So when I came back after being injured, I was like, I'm going to approach this from the standpoint of I want to work on pin escapes and submission defense.
Yeah.
And since I started coaching, I've only realized more so how much more that is valuable, how much more that improves your jiu-jitsu game over time. Is being, how often can you be put under attack and be cool with it?
Yes.
And that's like what I think Josh is kind of going through right now and evolving. Like when he went against Julian, he didn't know how to defend a Darce. But then he got put in a Darce grip. It got turned into something worse eventually, but now he knows how to defend against Darce grip.
Yeah.
How, it's like one of those things, right? Like you can't know something's there until you've seen it.
Yes.
And I think that is part of the thing that Josh runs into right now. But in terms of his gameness and his like athleticism,
he really
and his ability to finish,
he just has like a couple months.
He has something that I never had at his level, which is the ability to finish people.
Yeah.
He can take people and finish them. He's got a fucking mean squeeze on him.
Yeah,
and
he does.
and
it's great to see. Like he likes to hunt. I'm gonna grab that fucking head. And like when you hear him talk about it, like he's a very mellow guy, and he's like, but when I'm gonna grab your neck, I'm gonna grab your fucking neck. Jesus.
He's just like smiling, and he's like, I'm gonna fucking crush this guy.
Yeah.
Like, he asked Josh actually what kind of law he specializes in, and it's workers' rights. So if we ever slip and fall somewhere, that might be our guy.
I think we need to like one night just like ad lib a Harvey Birdman cartoon, and he can just reenact. He can just like.
I want to be Men Talk the Mind Taker. You remember him?
Yeah, I'm done. I'll be the judge with the gavel.
I loved
because he was always just simple and grunting.
Yeah, he's like the Captain Caveman or whatever.
Yeah.
I love Men Talk the Mind Taker and the Rhino that's always like, did you get that thing I sent you?
He had the bow tie, right?
Yeah. Did you get that thing I sent you?
I introduced Talia to it. She was like, this makes sense on why you'd like it. It's chaos.
Yeah, I showed my ex-girlfriend Space Ghost. And she was like, you were watching this when you were 8 years old? And I was like, yeah, that's part of probably
I've got Borax Barbecue like soundtrack somewhere, man.
Yeah, I want a Zorak tattoo so bad. Actually, I've always wanted a Zorak tattoo that says "Why are you alive?" And it's the first line he says in the Brack show.
Why are you alive?
Why are you alive? All right, so we've got some MMA to talk about this week.
Did you watch any of the ONE FC?
Fuck yeah, I did.
Oh, fuck yeah, we were talking about it. What am I talking about? Yeah.
Fuck yeah, I did. I can't believe Mikey Musumeci had to fucking basically saw someone's leg off and still not get the finish.
It's funny. A lot of people are apparently going like, "Why the fuck did he destroy his leg?" And like everyone that's an expert, that's been like a grizzled like 10-year plus black belts, like that's what you fucking do if people don't tap, and that's something like it's like in jiu-jitsu, like you're not supposed to rip it off, but you are supposed to go like, dude, you're supposed to tap right here, and like Mikey, he wasn't ripping into it, Yeah, he was doing what? He would get it, and he's Liam going like, "Motherfucker, this is breaking your leg." Like
within like 20 or 30 seconds of it being applied, he had probably torn mostly everything, right? And so he just kept on it.
It was like I was watching the movie Smile. I was like looking away. I'm like, "Fuck me, man!" Like I had to like look away. Like, I was like, "Damn!" And like you heard the laundry list of injuries he had on it. Yeah, and I'm like, "Bro, out for a year." Like,
I mean, I get it. It's the highest level. It's the highest level.
Is never gonna at least he's like, thank God he's a grappler, because any kind of explosion out of that leg is done with something like that.
There's kind of a there's a double-edged sword to Gordon's success in the U.S., and it's that he has become like the highest level of jiu-jitsu that there can be in the U.S. in terms of he's got this big multi-fight deal with Flow Grappling. They've built all these shows around him.
Yeah.
And now it's like in America, if you want to make a name for yourself as a grappler, you kind of have to put yourself in a position to go against Gordon. Yeah. Or to attach yourself to him some way meaningfully, like being on his team.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that's nice about the ONE grappling stuff, is that it's the highest level for guys more Mikey's size and the more average jiu-jitsu competitor. Because I'll tell you, if Gordon was competing on the local scene, like when he was competing on the local scene in his area, he was like 170 or something.
He was a kid.
He was small. If he competed at his current weight, he'd have a fucking hard time getting matches, because there's maybe one or two guys at Ultra period. At heavyweight, period. At the whole tournament.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you start getting up to that high level, brown belt, black belt, there's not a lot of us.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's one of those things where not every jiu-jitsu competitor, most jiu-jitsu competitors are around 150 to 170 pounds.
Yeah.
And so for guys like Mikey to be able to go out and get big paydays and have a belt and get $50,000 bonuses, it's the highest level that can happen.
That's so rad.
Of course, he's going to rip it. He was as nice as you can be about it in a high-level comp.
Yeah.
And the guy is just a Sambo guy, and once it was torn, he was probably like, it's torn, fuck it. You know, like, it's ripped now.
For the good of Kazakhstan, I'm staying in this fight. Like, sorry, man. Or
Father
Dagestan.
plan.
Where's he from?
I think he was a...
Dagestan,
I don't think his opponent was from Dagestan, no.
No?
I forget what country he was from.
They said he was a combat sambo world champion.
Yeah, I think he might have been from Belarus.
Or Belarus, oh.
That might be, if that's the case, that would explain it, because everybody there does it. Like, pretty much...
Sorry to the great republics of whatever foreign nations I just upset.
Pretty much every...
Please don't hate me, bro. Hashtag one love.
Pretty much every Subway employee is a Sambo world champ in Belarus. But yeah, I saw Stamp's fight. We were talking about how you thought Stamp didn't win. And I was talking about how...
I want to go back and watch it, and I mean...
The judging is pretty suspect in general in one, so it's not like...
Well, it's definitely based more on, like, favoritism.
Yeah.
Like, when they talk about damage, I guess, like, if you're favorited, then you can see that Stamp landed more, like, cleaner shots, but, however, Wonder Girl, like, she still landed a ton, or Supergirl, sorry, once again to the great Republic of Thailand. I did not mean to upset you this time. But no, Supergirl, no, Wonder Girl, Supergirl, fuck, okay. No, like, she just had great forward pressure. She was always landing, like, great combinations, like, and I didn't really see her getting as hurt by the strikes as Stamp was. Like, me personally, I kind of saw, like, Stamp was physically wearing the strikes worse than Supergirl.
Yeah, you saw the numbers, though, right?
What were the numbers?
Stamp outstruck her by quite a bit.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I was very surprised to see that, too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the significant strike counter was substantially higher in each round for Stamp. Even the round she got knocked down in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely think that Supergirl won the...
She did a great job of staying very tight. She had a very tight defense still.
She won the round.
I can see like Stamp having better defense of the two. Like Supergirl being a bit more open with her hands, but like it just seemed to me like mixing in as far as like kicks that landed and knees that landed. I thought Supergirl landed more.
Yeah,
no, I
think she was more. She was more all over. Like you said when we were initially talking about it, you said that she was hitting every target.
Yeah, she was hitting like every level.
Stamp was kind of
head-hunting the whole time.
And I think that's why that may have been, like you were saying, damage is very subjective in one, and the rule set is very subjective in general.
Yeah. Because a lot of times people will judge knees and kicks over punches.
Yeah.
In Muay Thai.
Definitely.
Kickboxing.
Definitely.
Like, so,
I think that,
if you are rocking the shit out of somebody, then it's like, damn, that's doing some fucking damage. Like, if you're smacking someone's face around, like, that's one thing. But, like,
and I think that
if you're landing two punches but you're getting kneed, then, like, the person that knee is going to kind of outwin that.
I think the knockdown against Stamp was pretty legit, but I think they may have read it as a trip because that may have affected the scoring significantly. But it was, like, split. So, at least one...
It was a very close fight. I mean, they were fighting the whole fucking time.
It was a great fight.
Yeah,
it was a very great...
To be
put together on 24 hours notice.
Yeah, like, I was watching that fight the whole time going, like, I mean, I don't give a fuck who's winning. I just say this, like, I also didn't have any favoritism in this fight. Yeah. I love watching both these girls fight, and I was just like... This is a great fucking fight. Everyone just needs to sit down and watch this right now. Like, that's how
I tend to think about things like from an MMA perspective rather than how it goes down in Thailand, but it's not necessarily like an insane thing to have your fight put together on 24 hours notice for either of those girls.
No, it happens all the time there.
It happens all the time there.
Yeah.
So it probably felt like a bit of a throwback to them.
Oh,
but to me, I'm like, with a 24 hours notice, you're supposed to be fighting MMA, mixed rules. You know, you were supposed to fight the mixed rules fight with Anissa 24 hours ago, and now you're going to step into a pure, kickboxing contest on 24 hours notice as the biggest star in one, pretty much. That's pretty...
They probably went out to brunch the next day.
That's pretty fucking to me. Yeah. Like, that's pretty reminiscent of Conor taking on Mendez, even though it was the worst matchup on short notice.
Yes.
So, I think that Stamp had more to lose, for sure. And it was good that she went out there, and I think that she kind of figured out that she definitely does not belong at that weight class that Supergirl is at.
Yeah.
Because she had a hard time dealing with the range. And, I just think
it was like when Anderson Silva fought Daniel Cormier.
Yes.
I'll say this, like, that's one of my favorite Anderson Silva moments of all time. When he stepped up last minute to fight Daniel Cormier at, like,
UFC 200.
Yeah, and I was like, yo, that's gangster. Like, you go, Anderson. And I was like, that's going to go one way, but, like, good for Anderson, and he gets that kick at the end of the fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like...
Daniel right in the fucking liver.
Yeah.
As hard as he could.
But yeah, no, that was, like, ONE FC, man, I keep telling people...
Yeah, Supergirl had an amazing knockdown on Stan.
If you like to watch fighting, then you enjoy watching the UFC. If you appreciate martial arts, then you love ONE FC. Like, I see, like, that is the big split, but I'm a degenerate. I just like to see people fight.
Yeah, I like one. I kind of have been going back and forth.
I love the martial arts of it. I love, like, how respectful they are to each other.
And you saw the main event.
Yeah, it was fucking great.
Yeah,
slept Superbond.
Superbond got slept.
Man,
by that fucking G.I. Joe action figure looking guy.
Right, reborn. But no, I also wanted to talk about Gary Tonon's fight.
Yeah,
very slick. Where he
probably some of the worst fight IQ I've ever seen in an MMA fight.
From who?
Johnny Nunez.
Yeah. Because Gary gave up that back, and then he put his hand behind the head, and the guy was like, "Oh, he's letting me go up to the back," and Gary's like, "Yeah, go there," and he did it just to like trap the Kimura.
Well, just to have the idea of I'm gonna walk Gary to the fence and go for double unders. That's a fucking dumb idea against him. Yeah. Like, there's no realm in which you are better in the grappling than he is, even if you were a super high level wrestler, jiu-jitsu black belt, and you're not either of those things, Johnny. And so for him to just walk out like that and be pressing the fight in the striking, honestly. Like pressing forward and kind of landing the few shots that were available to him. Yeah. And then he just grappled him.
When you know someone's a specialist, you kind of just have to say fuck it and get into a fight with him.
Gracie self-defense forward roll Kimura is what Neil called it.
Yeah. No, he's not wrong. I mean... But it was, I loved it. Like, I was telling I've been getting to work with Aiden and Leilani out of Embrace, and I was like, if y'all don't go back and watch, like, that transition, like, you need to be drilling that, like, all the time. Like, I tell people, like, giving up the back is scary, but giving the back up while controlling an arm is a great fucking idea. Yeah. Like, if you know jiu-jitsu. I was like, me, would I do that? No, why not? No, if you're a purple belt, yeah, you should do that.
Yeah,
yeah, go
especially
for it.
Leilani. Leilani's got very solid grappling. Very solid. So
and what else was there?
UFC? Then there was the UFC. No other MMA fights really stick out.
Oh, but the Superbond knockout, like, that's the tough thing about going from one sport to another. As close as kickboxing and Muay Thai can be, they're vastly different. And that's what got Superbond slept in that fight. Was the ability for Murat to land, like, just heavy combinations back behind every kick. Mm. And you see Superbond starting to, like, eat, like, hand combinations, and it's, like, it's different to get punched in succession like that if you're not used to it. It's just a different feel. Like, blocking kicks, kick range, like, staying away from it, knees, elbows, but, like, if you get caught in that boxing range, you're not used to it, it sucks.
There's no gamesmanship in Muay Thai compared to... Well, there is, but there's not at the level of boxing. So,
yeah, like kickboxers come to like that old school boxing. That's like, I'm going to punch you.
Well, when Superbond gets knocked down, or even when Stamp got knocked down, they got back up and started walking forward immediately. There's no, like, I'm going to use the 8 count to kind of catch myself. And I think Superbond just got...
It's also when you don't have elbows and knees, and you have a fraction of the clinch that you normally do, like, you get stuck, like, and you see it, he's still going like, I want to, I can't. Oh, I want to, I can't. And it's trying to, like,
slow it down.
Exactly, but he didn't have the tools to slow it down, so his guard was tight, but you would see him try to look for a clinch entry that was no longer there.
Right.
And that's when the combinations would land, and, like, when your head's getting snapped back, like, I tell people all the time, like, you get boxed up by a Muay Thai guy, that's one thing. But then we get boxed up by a boxer, then you're like, oh, fuck me. And it's tough. But, like, so, like, not having those elbows, that's what he got stuck in. Like, he just got stuck in that punch range without any options to trap the arms and hold on. Because it's also, like, you can only, like, grab on and, like, stall, like, and they break it right away after, like, 1 or 2 knees. Like, you can't sweep and stuff like that. So
I think he
just got caught in
too many times.
Yeah.
Too many times too short of a distance between each other.
You know, that's it. Yeah, and he just got caught up in, like, a different rule set, you know? And it'd be that way, but, like, it's a spectacular knockout, like, for martial arts. Great to see happen. Like, that's why I love training, like, when I have my guys where in jiu-jitsu, you talk about like your leg lockers, your guillotine guys. With me, it's like, who are my Muay Thai guys? Who are my kickboxer guys? Like, and you see the difference in a lot. Like, you see guys like Hunter, a bit more of a kickboxer. You see a Niche, definitely more of a Muay Thai guy. Like, and they all kind of go off in their...
That gravitation.
Yeah, like I have more Muay Thai people, I have more kickboxer people. Both are good.
Right.
Both is awesome to have.
Like we were talking about with the sisters earlier.
Oh, yeah.
We're like unified versus modified. We can gravitate towards one, but we have to be able to do both.
Exactly. Yeah. And, like, they just haven't been getting enough clinching in from, like, other gyms they were at, where right now I'm just like, if you guys want to compete, it's in unified, and, like, that's it. Like, and guess what? You guys are 9 and 11. This is getting you ready for, like, when you're 16, and you can do both, because you're going to have a lot of options in both by the time that you're 16. Like, it is, like, where women's combat sports is at now. Like, when they're at, like, 16 years old, it's going to be off for the races.
Well, it's waiting for people like them.
Yeah, but there's pockets of it. Like, we're seeing it in every city now. And it's not just, like, the big cities. It is, like, every little city, there's more and more kids punching and kicking on the bag and, like, getting ready for fights. Like,
look at what Chase Gamble's done with that youth MMA.
Look at the monsters that Brian Battle's making out of.
He's taking those kids to world championships, you know, for youth MMA in the other countries, you know, and that was like 2 years after he started the organization. Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely something that's out there.
And just like where I've been at with like kickboxing, I get to like look back at these other areas. Like these PKBs are filled with kids,
right? That
are all in like that 9, 10, 11, 12 years old age. I'm like, oh shit! Like these kids are gonna be ready for full contact when they're 16. Like, so when these girls are like actually teenagers, like, dude, it's off to the races. Yeah, and I'm like, and if you guys can fight in both, then you'll have fights like every month, and that's what I'm trying to get you guys ready for. And they're just like, okay, fine, because they don't understand time. Yeah, like, they're just they don't have anything to be mad about.
Time moves so slow when you're a kid.
But they also even just like they understand where it's like when I tell them straight up, I'm like, hey, you cannot do this certain thing right now, but you don't do it now. You can do a lot of it in a little bit. And you have to be okay with that. And they're just like, okay, fine.
They're good students.
They're great students. It's amazing. And even
they listen to you. Really
and I let the parents know, like, have like these cool like code words with them. And I'm like, can you just write that in a fucking notebook? Like they dad would go like, pop the bubble, and the girls go, wah, 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 wah. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I'm not mad about it, but give me the password.
I want it on the system.
And it's cool, man. Like they're really awesome to train. Yeah, they're a blast. And it's also cool where I'm also a bit more accustomed to that process now of like having people that I train like over time. Like the older I get, like the younger my students get. Like it's weird. Yeah. Like where like I kind of dropped the kids program and we just have like 13 and up, but like these two right here, I'm just like, after I figure out how to coach these two a bit better, I mean they're different. Like they're better than most adults.
Right.
Yeah, like as far as like coachability and like I'm just like, oh neat. Like I'll be able to see these kids become like adult competitors and I'll be in like a wheelchair. Yeah.
So the UFC we also watched.
Yes, the UFC also.
There were a couple fights that were good.
Yeah.
Charles Johnson versus Jimmy Flick was pretty good. Yeah. Bit of an early stoppage for some people, but I think it was trending in that direction.
You know what? I did just watch that. I said that Jimmy Flick kind of looked like Freddy Krueger without the burns.
Before the burns, Man. Robert Englund.
Good guy, Freddy Krueger, Jimmy Flick. Charles Johnson, no, I think it was kind of justified.
I think there's been a lot of damage before the finishing sequence. Yeah, I think if you watch the finishing sequence by itself, you're like, oh, maybe that was a little early, but it was
Jimmy wasn't reading the shots well. Like he wasn't like he was walking into a lot. Like he was physically getting hurt by like almost every shot landed. He had been dropped before that, and it was a smart call.
He came in on short notice. Also, probably had a bit of a harder weight cut.
The ref has seen Charles Johnson fight. Has ref Charles Johnson before, and like, is it favoritism? No, it's safety, kids. Like it'd be that way. And like, I mean, you'll hear referees say that where it's like, hey, look, some of y'all are animals, some of y'all ain't. Like, if I see that you're out of there,
sounds
you're
like
out
Donnie
of there.
Marshall would say.
Oh yeah, but that's also why I like him. Like guys like Dale have said that before, where it's like he'll look at me and just be like, "This motherfucker is not going to last more than a minute," and I just be like, "You're not wrong, Dale." Like, and judges know that at that level too, though. Like, you can't just let somebody die.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe Dale. The jury's still out. Oh, Dale.
Yeah.
All right. So outside outside of that fight on the prelims, I wasn't really blown away by anything on the prelims. Were you? Did you like anything here?
I mean, Abdul Razak Hassan just came out and did what he's just a fucking monster.
That was such a mismatch. Oh wait, no, I'm looking at the wrong one. Yeah, the fight before that was such a mismatch in my opinion. But yeah, I like Abdul Razak Hassan for sure.
Yeah. Let's see, but yeah, then on the main card, Umar
had that sick KO.
Yeah. He picked up his left leg, like he couldn't make up his mind to throw a leg or a kick, and then it kind of opened up the alleyway for that guy to. He wanted to reach in to catch that kick, and Nurmagomedov, he did just that Khabib punch of the. He just kind of punches straight up inside like their eye line, and man, he fucking crumpled
him.
Yeah.
Good fight before that though.
Yeah, great fight, back and forth.
I thought Howney did a good job.
He was having a great showing, and they just be that way sometimes.
Yeah. It was only 4 minutes and 40 seconds, but that 4 minutes and 40 seconds was pretty competitive before that knockout.
Oh yeah, really good showing for Howney.
We kind of wrote Raquel Pennington off on last episode, and then she came out and had a pretty banger performance against Caitlin Vera.
She really did. Yeah, Caitlin really had issues with Raquel's pressure and just keeping the tighter punches.
Raquel looked in better physical shape than I've seen her in a long time.
Yeah, she the way that she really pushed forward, her pace was very impressive. We talked about this was her best performance yet.
For sure. Yeah. I think so too. In a long, long time at least.
Yeah, and against someone that is a very up and coming, someone who's been taking out a lot of top fighters.
For sure. A person with a arguably a better record.
Yes.
And then you have Roman Kopylov. He looks really good. His move to Dagestan is a good move. He's now training in Dagestan.
Russian Paddy Pimblett.
He's got nice feints.
Yes, he does.
He's got nice
Very
feints.
long outside fighter and does not give a fuck. The way that he stayed in the pocket with Punalele was impressive.
He was damaging him.
Yes, and he did a great job. Roman did a great job of finding that body early on and just sticking to it.
It was one of those things where when the fight did finally end, I was kind of relieved.
Yeah.
Because it was starting to trend in the direction of a really bad one-sided beating.
Yes,
and the third round, on that Kevin Holland Wonder Boy territory where you're just like, I want this to be over already.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed with that guy, young kid. And has a very interesting look about him in terms of his frame and his everything.
Very awkward.
He's like a big Chase Hooper, but he can strike.
Yeah.
And then Dan Ige, whew, what a knockout! And this was actually a pretty nice little back and forth fight until the knockout.
It was, yeah. And I mean, Damon was getting hit early on, and I kind of saw his body language he had the body language of a fainting goat in this fight. Damon Jackson was fighting his ass off, but you saw every time Dan clipped him, his body was what the fuck did I just get hit by? But then he put his foot back down and get back in there, and good for him. But you can't be that uncontrolled with Dan Ige. You have to be very disciplined to beat Dan Ige. And then I think I accidentally wrote Damon's murder into the ether, and I feel really, really bad about it.
Seconds after you said that in the chat, he got flatlined.
I was just man, I think I said Damon Jackson in the no good, very bad day.
Yeah.
And literally less than a minute later, flatlined, and I went, my heart dropped, and I was oh, I made that happen.
I manifested this.
Oh no, bad.
As the kids say, I manifested.
Yeah, no, and it was man, that was a rough one, and it's a bummer because Damon Jackson is someone I enjoy watching fight. He fights like a motherfucker, and that's what I love about MMA. You just have those motherfuckers like him.
Yeah, especially the ones like him that look like they would never fight MMA. If you saw them on the street, you might.
Oh yeah, what I say? He won win your chance to fight in the UFC, hosted by Hooters, frat
corn nuts.
Yeah, brought by corn nuts and Hooters.
Corn to the core.
And it's him in a fight kick in the parking lot, just they're all just haymakering away.
It just looks like somebody
if won the contest.
If you were pulling in the same parking spot at Wegmans and he pulled in,
you might want to just
start some shit. You might start some shit. Just look at him and be like, all right, I'm starting some shit, but he fuck you up.
Yeah, and then he just ruins your day. And then your girlfriend's dating your teammate, and you're like, fuck!
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Unrelated. Your dog, you have to put your dog down.
Yeah.
All this other shit.
You upset your dog so
happening.
much it just died.
Yeah. Your parents changed somebody else to their primary inheritor on their estate. Bad things just start happening.
Your parents actually own a mortuary, and they're hiding bodies underneath for years, and they're selling words of black market.
Someone steals your identity and goes to Brazil.
Damon Jackson out here ruining lives.
He's like, I had nothing to do with any of that. Yeah. It just happened after, your life's been a downward spiral since I knocked you out in the Wegmans parking lot. And then there was a very bog standard, it felt like Sean Strickland in the Multiverse of Madness fight. Literally the kind of fight that if you were to make fun of Sean Strickland, this is how you would make fun of him. Jack Slack and all the people who do MMA media. This is how you would make fun of him, and he just does that kind of fight. Very by the numbers.
Yes.
That scene in Talladega Nights where he's like, I am contractually obligated to mention Powerade in every prayer. That is how I felt. Which I was like, I'm contractually obligated to throw a jab every 20 seconds. Dude, if I do not, I am fired from the UFC.
So here's what I like about Sean Strickland, and it is how much he uses that damn jab. I tell people I'm a huge fan of the jab. Even as I just tell people I'm just a striking coach, and I've always had a passion for boxing. And dude, the way that you can use that small glove jab, if you actually train like a boxer and you have that weapon of a jab in an MMA glove, it is such a fucking problem.
I think that Strickland's style is a gatekeeper style, but because he's at middleweight, he's at the highest level.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
It's can you get past this guy who has a 1-2?
Well,
or not?
You came by and I was watching just Wonder Boy versus Luke again because it just popped up on YouTube and I was like, you know what, I like this fight. And it's that kind of fight is why Sean Strickland cannot be at the top of welterweight. Just that difference.
Middleweight.
In welterweight. But that's why he's from the welterweight division.
Really?
Yeah.
How did he fight at welterweight?
That was his first run in the UFC was at welterweight.
Oh, yeah?
No, yeah. Sean Strickland's been at it for a while, man. And so he had a tough go. He was a banger at welterweight. But then he had a motorcycle accident, messed up his leg.
That's right.
Moved up to middleweight because he was fuck cutting weight. It's doing too much damage to me. Right. But yeah, dude, at welterweight, he was still fighting like this, but other guys were just faster. Just a bit more that dynamic. It's just a faster twitch at welterweight with that volume. And at middleweight, the only people he's kind of behind when you think about it, are just those top guys. Everyone else has a really hard time.
I think him versus Gastelum would be a good fight.
Didn't he already fight him?
Did he fight Gastelum?
I thought he did. I thought he boxed the fuck out of Gastelum.
I can't see that. This is why I don't like Sean. His fights all blend together in my mind to one fight.
But that is why I like him. Do you want to know why I stopped following some bands? Because their next CD sounds different, and they needed to express themselves differently. And I was like, fuck you, play me music that I want to cry and shadowbox to at the same time.
I don't think he's fought Gastelum. I'm looking at his record right now.
No? Okay, maybe I'm thinking of...
He's not fight. He's fought Uriah, he's fought Jack, he's fought Brendan Allen, Jack Marshman, Nordine Talib.
He recently lost to...
Jared Cannonier.
Right. Who did he fight before that?
Pereira. He got knocked out by Pereira.
Gastelum did?
Oh, we're talking about Gastelum. I'm talking about Strickland.
No. Yeah, no. I'm talking about... I thought that Sean Strickland already fought Kevin Gastelum.
He has not fought him. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. But I was trying to think who recently just pieced up
Gastelum. Let's see. I will say that he just lost to Jared Cannonier as well.
Yeah.
Jared Cannonier, Robert Whitaker, Ian Hirsch. He's lost the last 3 by decision. Or no, he's lost the last 2 by decision. He beat Ian Heinrich by decision as well. He got submitted by Jack Hermanson via heel hook. He hasn't been knocked out in a long time since he fought Tim. I don't think he's ever been knocked out.
Yeah, Kevin?
Nope, never been knocked out.
Never been knocked out.
Never been knocked out. Just submitted.
But no, I like Sean Strickland because, I know how he's gonna fight, and so does everyone else. And they're like, I'm gonna beat him because I'm gonna do all this stuff, and he's like, cool. I'm gonna put this hand inside your face, so many times that you did not think were possible. And, like, you just see people's faces throughout the fight just go, man, I just can't be anywhere in front of this fucking guy. It's weird, like, but I love the small steps he takes. It's such fundamental basic boxing.
What about Vettori?
Ooh, him and Vettori would wrestle. Actually, like, he's got some, like, Sean has some unique
that fight's going 5 rounds.
Yeah, that fight is going 5 rounds.
I put $1 billion. I put my entire life savings on that fight going all 5.
Strickland versus Vettori, I think, is a good fight to make.
It's a good one.
Yeah, that's a really good fight to see this year. But dude, I like what I see every time he fights. Like, is he?
I will say,
you know,
he finally had some shit talk that made me laugh this week. He finally said something funny. Have you ever seen Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, do you know who John Morgan is?
Drawing a blank on that, though.
He's the guy who asks the first question at every UFC press conference. Hey, Dana, it was a great fight night. Anything surprise you? Yeah,
that guy. Yeah.
He asked Sean a question, and Sean just started laughing, like, uncontrollably for, like, 30 seconds. And he's like, I'm sorry, I don't really like Star Wars, but you look like Watto.
The force does not work on me.
He's like, doesn't he look like Watto?
Oh my fuck. What a savage dude. Yeah. Damn. God damn. If someone sent John Morgan a hug and a gift basket.
That's what I said. I was like, wow, 10-7. Alright, so outside of that pretty relatively bad fight card, there is a pay-per-view this weekend.
Woo!
There is a pay-per-view this weekend. Terrence McKinney returns.
Yeah.
Always like to see him fight. Cody Stamann also fighting on the card against the debuting Laun Lucerda at bantamweight.
These are the early prelims, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna just watch the early prelims.
Shogun's retirement fight.
Man, yeah, that's the one that I'm like, okay, I saw him on the the behind the scenes, the embedded thing. So fucking glad he's retiring. Thank God, because fucking Pedro Hizzo was also on the embedded, and Pedro Hizzo looks to be in better health and shape than fucking Shogun Rua. And Pedro Hizzo is 20 years older and had a hell of a rough time in the early days of MMA.
Well, Rua, he's in the USADA pool,
Dude, he is looking like... Dude, he looks like he's 50.
Training MMA all the time when you're 20 years old will make you look like you're on steroids.
Yeah,
but training MMA all the time when you're 40 years old will make you look like you're on the verge of death.
Yeah.
Unless you're on steroids.
He's had so many rough fights, and, dude, I saw him, and I was like, God damn, I hope he doesn't die. But he's fighting this guy, Ihor. I don't know anything about him.
Botera.
I feel like the guy is young enough to be able to knock him out.
He's 26.
There you go. This guy has, I think, the biggest advantage right there.
God damn, why is the UFC always be doing it? Yeah, he's got 2
Now,
guys.
I am excited for Gregory Rodriguez and Bruno Fajea.
Love to see those.
That is the fight.
I love Gregory Rodriguez.
Yeah. I'm becoming a huge fan of that guy.
Yeah,
the way that he shuffle steps off.
They really are bringing the heat with this fucking Brazilian card. Thiago Moises, who's also fun to watch.
But then the main card is a really fun card of matchups.
Dude. Yeah, it's pretty good. This is a pretty good little card.
If Paul Craig sleeps Johnny Walker, Jesus Christ, how absurd!
That's a cool fight.
Yeah,
it's a cool fight.
Because Johnny, Paul Craig is really good at getting punched,
and Johnny's switched his style now to avoid the stand up and has become more of a grappler. You remember that?
Oh,
you remember that last time we were like, here he comes to get. We were watching his last fight when we were like, oh, poor Johnny about to get knocked out again.
Who was he fighting?
I don't remember who he was fighting, but we were pretty ready to see him get knocked out, and then he just
wrestled somebody.
He just pulled out the jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
Ion Cutelaba. We thought that
Cutelaba
was going to knock him out again because he had just been knocked out.
And then Johnny just said, "Fuck this,"
and became a purple belt all of a sudden. And just took us back, and now it seems like he's leaning more into the jiu-jitsu.
Good.
And if he does that against Craig, you're going to get fucked.
Yeah.
Craig's really good.
Really good off his back.
That's all he's got.
Yeah.
He's made it to
But I wonder if Johnny will not play the submission game, but he will take it there because Paul Craig is just as good as getting punched on his back as he is on the feet.
He's better.
I've never seen someone he gets dish plate eyes, and Johnny Walker, man, if he can translate his stand-up striking into his ground and pound for some power, I could see Johnny Walker winning this by ground and pound from the guard.
I can't see that because it's not like he's a good traditional puncher. Yeah. All of his power comes from jumping and explosiveness, right? Yeah. And those guys don't often have great ground strikes because they don't know how to throw in a straight line. He's got an okay jab, but most of his knockouts are all like, I jumped into the guy with an upper hook.
But just how Paul Craig, he's so long and he just presents his head on that proverbial
he's not a good striker.
On his back, I've never seen someone just put their head in front of strikes and go I'm just gonna grab your hands as soon as they touch my face. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's jiu-jitsu. It's self-defense jiu-jitsu. I will say that Paul Craig has made it to the highest possible level you can make it to.
As a guard puller.
Yeah. He's setting the standard high for all of us immediate sitters.
Lauren Murphy, Jessica, that'll be a fun scrap.
Fun fight.
I feel like Jessica is probably going to win the fight against the cage.
Murphy's going to have a hard time keeping her off of her on the cage unless she's really long with the jab and
able to keep moving and stuff. Yeah,
she's got to keep moving,
Gilbert Burns, Neil Magny.
Burns is tough. Dude, I think Burns is one of the hardest guys in that division.
This is one of those fights of let's see how well Gilbert Burns' durability has held up. I feel like maybe it's at its tipping point
for me
for the highest level. Neil Magny is still that. He's been finished. He's not as durable as Burns at the highest level, but he's still a bad motherfucker.
I would say that Magny is
also smart enough to not get caught up in a bad exchange.
Magny's really good in fights that are strategic and technical in nature.
Yeah.
He's not a natural-born killer or a brawler.
No.
And Gilbert is. So 100%. If Gilbert brings that, then I think Magny will be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But if he survives the storm and slows him down, I am interested to see how he looks against Gilbert's jiu-jitsu.
I'm curious about how he's going to find counters because he is very smart about being on the inside. He has very heavy, long elbows and knees. And I wonder if Herbert might put himself inside
his height's going to be the advantage.
So, and that makes me curious about where he might be able to counter behind an intelligent Muay Thai guard. Of him staying longer with elbows as counters instead of looking for punches. He might just go Bet, if you're just gonna fucking wing punches at me, I'm gonna fucking get you on the way in.
Okay, we got 3 minutes left and we got 2 fights to talk about. So, Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno for the first quadrilogy in UFC title history.
This is awesome to see.
Fuck yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. I'm stoked for it.
These guys could fight 90 times and I don't think anybody's gonna complain. It's the best flyweight fights in the history of the sport.
Brandon and Davison are both back in their respective countries for this.
No Kraus.
And Davison is not at
Henry Cejudo's.
Yeah, I think they've both been training in Brazil for this one.
And the original recipe that created that banger fight.
And that's why I'm just both these guys have gotten better and they've gotten back to their roots. I don't give a fuck who, I
think Brandon is one of the few people that got worse going to Kraus.
Yes, I don't give a fuck who wins because I know this is going to be a good fight.
And they're probably going to do it again.
And they will
unless it's very definitive.
Unless it's very one-sided.
Somebody knocks somebody out, then maybe. But if it's another banger...
man, I think that this one will be the wildest one yet, to be honest. And I cannot wait.
If they go best of 5, it is going to be insane.
Yeah.
But I can't wait for this one. But Glover
Teixeira, Jamal Hill. So... I saw a video of Glover and Alex Bahia, and Glover was like, hey, put that offensive boxing on me, and I got to work through it. And you know how we were talking about his striking offensively against Yuri?
Yeah.
I was seeing that with him defensively. He has not, his defense looks so good for his boxing. He's not in the mood to be brought out into a boxing match, which Jamal is very good at pulling people into, but he's bro, I have fought guys longer than you. I know everyone has a puncher's chance against me, but it still takes more than one punch, unless you're Anthony Johnson, to get Glover. And
everybody says Jamal Hill hits hard. We're going to find out how hard he hits.
Exactly.
Because you have to hit so hard to put Glover away.
Yes.
Compared to most other people.
Yes.
This is an infinitely more interesting
Jamal's
fight.
Best chance is still going to be Glover's kryptonite has been the uppercut. Time and time again.
Fucking again.
And, it'll be interesting to see how Glover wades in because he knows where he has to take this fight. He has to take this fight to the pocket and to the cage.
To the ground.
And then I think he's going to fucking maul Jamal Hill.
If he gets him against the cage,
Jamal Hill being younger, more athletic, and like in this game of chaos, Jamal Hill brings this X factor of like not the John Jones type X factor, but still creates a lot of similar problems of chaos with this fucking frame of it's like, how are you so big? How are you so strong? How are you so long? Like I don't get this.
If he gets the same setup he got on Jan against the cage wall and double legs him and mounts him, he's gonna crush him.
Yeah.
But I think Jamal is a little different. He's a little different.
He's got a different.
It's hard to prepare for.
And it's like, the more textbook you are, it's like you watch these generations. As soon as one generation kind of runs out of a certain textbook, like the next generation just rips that textbook to fucking pieces, and like it's a different game. Yeah. So we're gonna see if
what they thought Johnny Walker was.
Yes,
Jamal Hill is.
But then you also have Glover, who is still working with the creme de la creme of the middleweight of striking, one of the best strikers in the world. So like, they're also like, and Alex Pereira is gonna give him like X factors to look at.
We've seen the results of their union for Alex, and now I want to see it for. Because I don't think his involvement with Glover is what won him that fight. If anything, I think his grappling looked like very low level.
Yeah.
So I want to see Glover having that veteran savvy if he's soaked up anything good from Alex.
Well, I think that's why he started to recognize just staying fluid again. Because he had Alex Pereira coming. He's like, why the... And you hear... who's the Aussie? Robert Whitaker. You hear him talk about training with high-level like professional boxers. He's like, when I tried to box him, I couldn't do anything.
We're out of time.
Oh, fuck, we're out of time.
5:15. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in to the 10A Fightcast. That's all the time we have today. Trevor's got to go teach some karate.
Oh, yeah,
so until the next time we see you, especially this weekend, enjoy yourselves and the fights.